Hi, I'm Tessa Lucy, Director of Compliance Services and Chief Privacy Officer for the University of Vermont. Thank you for taking time out of your busy day to watch these two training videos. The first video gives you an introduction and background, and the second provides you with more detail regarding the conflict of interest review process. If you are your unit's designated reviewer for conflict of interest and conflict of commitment disclosure forms, you have come to the right place. This video was designed to give you a little more information on the review process. If, after watching this video, you have questions, you can always reach out to my office at coi.coc@uvm.edu. The Office of Compliance and Privacy Services provides central support over the conflict disclosure process, but the review of disclosure forms and the management of conflicts happens in the individual departments, colleges, schools, and units. Under UVM policy, all employees are required to disclose potential conflicts on an annual basis or as their circumstances change. To help with this requirement, we have developed a single electronic disclosure form for faculty and exempt staff to use to submit disclosure forms. While everyone is required to disclose potential conflicts, faculty and exempt staff are required to submit a form through this electronic system at least annually. If, after going through this video, you need more information on how to use UVM Click or on its functionality, there are user guides available. Go to go.uvm.edu/reviewer-guide. If you are still having trouble and need technical assistance, email uvmclick@uvm.edu. As a reviewer, you are responsible for reviewing disclosure forms and determining whether a conflict exists. If a conflict exists, you are responsible for making sure that there is a plan in place to manage the conflict. If this is the first time you're reviewing disclosure forms, this may sound daunting. But let me assure you, you are not alone and you have resources. You will start to see some commonalities, and over time this will become much easier. This video is designed to get you off on the right foot. If you're not familiar with or haven't yet reviewed UVM's conflict of interest and conflict of commitment policy and UVM's nepotism policy, pause this video and review these now. Go to www.uvm.edu/policies and click on the A to Z Policy Index button. From there, you can either scroll down and click on the policy, or you can search for either. These two policies contain all the relevant definitions and requirements. In addition to these policies, we have a resource page at go.uvm.edu/coi-coc that includes an FAQ page. These provide more information on the process. Review those websites for resources, how-to guides, frequently asked questions, and more. Let me tell you what you are not responsible for. We often get questions about conflicts related to research. There is a difference between the conflict of interest, conflict of commitment, or COI reviews that you are responsible for, and the financial conflict of interest, or FCOI reviews that are required by some federal and other funding agencies, such as the National Institutes for Health and the National Science Foundation. While we at UVM have developed a single disclosure form so that individuals only have to fill out one form, if an individual is involved in sponsored research, two separate reviews are needed, one by you for COI and one by Research Integrity for FCOI. To be clear, you are not responsible for the FCOI process, but since we use a single disclosure form, you are responsible for doing your part timely. Emphasis on the word timely. While again, these are separate reviews, yours happens first. If you delay your review, it could hold up research proposal submissions, and that could result in a loss of funding. It's imperative that you log into UVM Click and check your queue on a regular basis to ensure your reviews are completed as soon as possible. Here's a tip. I have a recurring calendar reminder for every Friday to remind me to check my queue. Now, whatever reminder system works for you is fine, Just make sure that you're checking regularly. What happens if someone is involved in sponsored research? Well, the form comes to you first, and then once you complete your review, the form will automatically go to Research Integrity so they can do the FCOI review. During your review, you may need to communicate with them, so if you have questions about disclosures related to research, contact that office at conflictofinterest@uvm.edu. Here is another very important detail. Confidentiality is key. These forms may contain some sensitive and confidential information. As a reviewer, it's your duty to safeguard that. Do not share any information from the disclosure forms with anyone that doesn't have a need to know. There may be times when you need more information from a chair, dean, manager, or supervisor, but even in those situations, you are almost always obtaining information and not disclosing detailed information. If there is a need and you must share it, limit what you share, and remember that discussing personal and private information with anyone else without a true need is not appropriate and violates UVM's privacy policy. If you're ever unsure about disclosing or discussing information, contact our office at either coi.coc@uvm.edu or privacy@uvm.edu. If someone contacts you, if anyone asks whether something is on a disclosure form or asks you for a copy of the form, that's not your job and it's not for you to disclose that. Refer these inquiries to my office. Outside of the approved reviewer process described on our website, you should never ever download, print, or otherwise share a disclosure form for anyone. Pass those inquiries along to my office at coi.coc@uvm.edu. Your responsibility is to review the form. It's not to further disclose information. If it's allowable and appropriate, my office will handle the disclosure. For faculty and exempt staff required to fill out an electronic form, disclosure is based on the honor system. You are not responsible to police what someone discloses. It's their responsibility to respond accurately to the questions. If you know of something or hear about something that's not on the form, you can remind the discloser of their responsibility to disclose, but you don't need to worry about what might be missing. That's the responsibility of the individual filling out the form. If you're not sure, ask. You also won't need to review each and every submission. If someone goes through and checks no for everything, it will not need a review. And from personal experience, this is the lion's share of submitted forms. Most people do not have any conflicts to disclose. Only if there is an affirmative disclosure will it hit your queue for review. You are responsible to follow up with those who have not submitted a disclosure form and remind them of their responsibility. Since there will be a good chunk of submissions that don't require any sort of review, my office will provide you with periodic reports on who hasn't submitted a disclosure form or is otherwise out of compliance with the disclosure requirement. If you're not sure, ask. So, quick recap. You are doing a timely review on those that hit your queue. In other words, only those forms with affirmative disclosures. You are looking to see if it presents a potential conflict, and if so, you are taking some sort of action to make sure the conflict is managed. You're also maintaining the highest level of confidentiality throughout the process. Okay, so that's what you're responsible to do. You may be wondering what you're actually looking for. Well, you're looking at those activities that occur outside of UVM that impact, might impact, or appear to impact how folks do their jobs at UVM. The next video provides some common disclosures and some additional information to help you as you learn this process. If you have any questions, visit our website at www.uvm.edu/compliance/conflicts or email us at coi.coc@uvm.edu.